tell me about how you made the trek from Mississippi to Nashville. I'm joined by Ty Herndon today. Welcome to y'all 106.7.
Howdy. Man, I tell you, I started working at Opryland, USA. I was a senior in high school. I was actually living in Decatur, Alabama, born in Meridian, Mississippi. Mm-hmm. But, it's kind of a cool story because we didn't have a hospital in Butler, Alabama at the time. You had to go 14 miles, and I was 2 weeks late. I was just real comfortable where I was. And my mom, we had probably 3 snowstorms ever in Alabama and Mississippi, right there on the border. And my mom fell down a snowbank and induced labor. So I was almost born in the front seat of my dad's my F-150 pickup. And well, that's what I drive. He was probably a I don't know, a F230. I don't know, some kind of old pickup truck. But I made it to Anderson Hospital, and that's that's where I was born. And so since I'm right on the Mississippi-Alabama line, I claim both, absolutely. So
yeah,
bought
country
my first
boy.
6-pack of beer in Meridian, Mississippi. So, but that I was just going to high school and doing my thing, singing gospel music on the weekends. And my mom said, "You need to go to audition for this theme park," because I said, "Opryland, we've been there so many times. It was cool." And they hired me, and was in a show called the Tennessee River Boys. I did that for about 5 summers, and that band eventually turned into Diamond Rio. So Marty Rowe took my place in the Tennessee River Boys,
wow,
which turned into Diamond Rio, and I went on to Los Angeles to do a show called Star Search, and went all the way to the end with that, and came back to Nashville. I was almost Sawyer Brown, Rosie O'Donnell, all those fun people. It's all in the book coming, so it's really fun stuff. I'm gonna say the word that I'll get in trouble for. Anyhow, so that's the long story turned short there. So brought me to Nashville. Did not get a record deal. Sawyer Brown did. Everybody was doing great, and I was like, okay, I'm a little too Hollywood, I guess. I don't know. But I went to Texas. I moved to Dallas, Texas, and worked with Little Texas, Toby Keith, Tracy Byrd. All speaking of the great Toby Keith, he gave me the greatest advice. He was one of the first guys to get the big record deal when they were signing all those Texas acts, and he helped me keep it real. Stay current, but write some songs, man. Write some songs, and eventually I won Texas Entertainer of the Year. And they still don't know I'm not from Texas, so we're not going to tell them. So Texas Entertainer of the Year brought me to Nashville, got my record deal with Sony. That was a fun story because, man, I walked in. They came to me that night that I won the Texas Entertainer of the Year, said, "Come to Nashville, we'd like to talk to you." And you know how many people have said that over the years? Because I was 31 years old when I got my record deal. I was KT Osland at that point, man. It was kind of crazy. And I flew, I actually drove my truck to Nashville, and I went into the conference room, and when I was playing the shows in Texas, I had a cowboy hat on. I was playing guitar, and I walked into the conference room and didn't have a hat on, and I don't really play guitar because it was just the little red light on it wasn't plugged in. I knew 4 bar chords and the truth, and that was about it. So they were like, well, there's 3 people sitting there, and I said, well, somebody going to play for you? I said, I guess I'm really not prepared for this. I didn't think you guys were the real deal at all. And I said, I grew up Pentecostal. I can sing for you. So I flew into How Great Thou Art, and did a couple modulations of that, and I sang Jack Green's There Goes My Everything, because the first time I was on the Opry, I was 17 years old. And that was, that's still the mother church and the biggest accomplishment of your life. Mm-hmm. So I've been on 27 times on Opry. Everybody knows how many times they've been on. And I said, well, thank you. I appreciate you guys. And I walked out, got in my truck, was going to go get some lunch, head back to Texas. Yeah. And Margie Hunt from Sony came running out of the building. She said, come back in here. Where are you going? I said, well, I'm going home. She goes, no, you're going to come back in here and sign your record deal. We're going to give you a deal, man. And I felt like the biggest jerk because I had left, but I just thought, okay, well, this is just a moment that I'll remember, but nothing really happened. And so I went back in. They told me I could record 1 song, and if that song did well, then I could do an entire album, and that song was What Mattered Most. Mm. And the great Doug Johnson and Paul Worley produced that, and written by Doug Malamade and Vince Malamade and Gary Burr. And that song had been passed on by it was about a year and a half old, and people kept passing on it because nobody wanted to sing the "Oh my God, what did I do?" on the song. And I guess I'm an old drama queen from way back, so that was my favorite part.
I love that song.
I love
so
that song
much.
too, man.
So good.
I got the gift of gab this morning. I hung out with my mama and had 2 cups of coffee, but what mattered most started it all for me.
That is so great. And did you know the day you recorded that? I mean, obviously a lot happened that day. They chased you down and you signed a record deal. But when you sang it, did you have a feeling about it? Did you say this song's going to be something special?
They played me the demo, and it was Gary Burr singing it. He's an incredible singer, and I loved it. I loved it right off the bat because I've had a career of love songs, and I just they're in my heart. I think that directly kind of relates to spirituality a lot of times because love is spiritual. And I work in these days. You guys know this about me. I've been sober a long time. I work in recovery. I work in mental health, and somebody's got to do it in country music, right? So I connected with those story songs. In the '90s and the early 2000s were just full of those, and some of the '80s. My favorite artist is Janie Fricke. She if you guys don't know Janie Fricke, check her out. This holiday weekend, there was a television special that honored Lee Greenwood, and I got to sing a number one song that Susie Boggess and Lee Greenwood had back in the day, but Susie couldn't make it, and I sang it with Janie Fricke. And the first time I got a phone call from her, it was kind of like, "Listen, I am a huge." She stopped me. She goes, "I heard that you were 19 or 20 years old singing at a steakhouse, and you sang my entire first album." The lady did her homework. I was like, I almost fell out. I was like, "Yes, ma'am." I said, "Tell me any title right now, and I'll sing it to you." And so we sat back in Birmingham, Alabama, after filming that TV special, which aired this weekend. And probably 20 minutes into it, there's so many delays. There were all these country artists back there that were on the show, including the Oak Ridge Boys, singing Janie Fricke songs. So we were just sitting there doing them. It was like a golden moment. So, so
That's so cool.
Swinging it back to your question, I knew the song was special. I knew that I could sing it. And I'd not met Doug Johnson, and I had not met Paul Worley. I just knew the legendary producers that they were, so I trusted them. But by the end of it, anybody that's ever worked with Doug Johnson, if he were sitting right here today, we'd laugh about it. He is a vocal Nazi. If you sing one line, you're going to sing it 500 times. And through the modern technology, he puts all that together, and it becomes this gorgeous vocal. And I look at him all the time. I said, "Man, I could have sung that one time."
Yeah.
He said, "Yeah, it would not have been a number one."
Because you're a vocalist first. I mean, you grew up singing. That's what you know best. The playing and the writing, you can do that as well. But you're a vocalist first. Yeah.
Well, that is the performance in me. That is the essence of who I am. I always like to say, I'll quote the great Larry Gatlin, who grew up also in the same church atmosphere I did. He goes, "If you can't find the Pentecostal in that vocal, boy, then don't sing it."
Amen.
So I'm like, "Larry, what about the sexy songs?" He goes, "Well, you just shouldn't do them."
That's so great. So, I mean, they told you if this song goes well, we'll do some more. And obviously it went very well. It became your first number one. And then it was just snowballed into hit after hit after that. I love Living in a Moment You Would Die For. So tell me about, the weeks, the months that followed after that. What was that like for you?
Well, in these stories of life, as I like to refer to them, as there's a lot of ups and downs, and I was dealing with a major drug addiction at the time that I'd picked up in Texas. Dealing with everything from this is all coming later in a memoir, but so I can't get too far into it. But there was a lot of abuse. There was a lot of things I just had never dealt with on a mental level. And I'm just a little pig farmer from Alabama, and a lot of things happened out in California. A lot of things happened that I just had no idea how to deal with. And I thank the Lord. I have this, from a generation of strong, not only men but women in my family, that we had a bad habit of sweeping things under the rug. When it came time to talk about it, we'd just buy a new rug. So the whole generational thing for me is stop with that. We just clean the damn rug. We talk about things. So my family has drastically changed because I don't want to pass that down to any. I'm getting a little long in the tooth here, but we're planning on having kids, And I always knew I'd be a late in life father, and I got a lot of friends that are, but I know that there's been generations of addiction and stuff that can stop and has stopped with me, which is a beautiful thing. And it's all about education and mental health and all the things that we get the honor to work with. As a matter of fact, I have a T-shirt that says "mental" on the front, and on the back it says, and I'm damn proud of it. I've earned my scars, and your scars are your stars, no matter how you look at it in this life. It may be heinous, it may be bad. You lived through it, but if you can find the education and the help, it can truly become the greatest thing in your life. And I didn't think this old country boy would ever get there, but I love the fact that I'm doing better music than I've ever done. I've had the grand opportunity to be who I am and still be a cowboy and still run a great foundation, still making records, still have a record deal, and I'm out there touring. The fall is crazy for me, so much so I'm like, whoa, kids, let's pull it back just a little bit. But I am a great advocate for mental health, and I like to say life can be extremely fun, but just don't get too caught up in the fun that it becomes your main hobby.
Yeah.
Life is a lot of work as well, and when I get to counsel with kids and I get to talk to them about coming to Nashville and being in this, it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter your race, color, your sexuality, none of that matters. What matters is your truth, and the opportunity to come here and treat. If you want to be a songwriter, then treat it like you're going to Harvard. Be the best songwriter and know great songwriters. Know the history of great songwriters. If you want to be a great vocalist, the same. Know country music. Know all kinds of music and know who you are in that. And if you want to be a recording artist and you want to be behind a microphone, just absolutely take the time to get to know your heroes, get to know who you want to be, and educate yourself like it's the greatest master's degree of life. And if you enter any room with that, you're not going to fail.
Got to study the craft.
You're going to be impressive. And what follows with that success is you have a platform and be really careful with it because, platforms are dangerous as well. You have to know what that platform stands for, what the foundation is it's built on, because the worst thing that can happen is you run people off. The best thing that can happen is you draw them in, and with kindness and love and education, and give them an opportunity to speak. Sometimes you got to shut the hell up and just give people a chance to talk. And so that's the greatest healing factor of all. And I try to put that in my music. I try to put that in. I know we're going to talk about the concert coming up here this next week in Music Fest, but it's an exciting time. I lay awake at night. I sleep really good, but I lay awake at night sometimes just thinking, okay, what's next? Because you have to be okay with there not being what's next. You got to be okay with, wow, we did this. And how long we're going to be here and what do we need to do next on this stage before you start looking too hard at what's next. So, because it's going to naturally happen. I'm not a smart guy. I know y'all may think I sound real smart out there right now, but this is just life, man.
Hit us with the wisdom. Let's hear it. Yeah.
I can speak from wisdom all day long. So
that's so great. I'm glad that you touched on that though, because I do feel like in the music industry, a lot of times it is what's next, what's next, what's next. And you got to stop and think, wow, I've played the Opry, 27 times. I've done this, I've done that. And it's, sometimes can be hard to stop and enjoy the journey, but it seems like you're doing a pretty good job of that these days.
I'm going to thank you. You as well.
Thank you. Thank you.
Light, my friend. I love that. I just said to, I'm going to drop her name. I'll pick it back up because I've known her since she was 10 years old. Kristen Chenoweth played the Patsy Cline tribute the other night, and she's been wanting to play the Ryman forever. And she called me right after. She goes, wow. She goes, it is nerve-wracking standing on that little round piece of wood where Patsy Cline actually stood. And it encouraged me to go watch the Patsy Cline movie with Jessica Lange the other night, and I love that the final scene of the whole movie, they spotlighted that piece of wood, that moment, that Grand Ole Opry. And I don't care who you are or where you're from on this planet, if you love country music, if you Beyonce, whoever you are, but that is the mother church of it's got to be respected. And if you're authentic and you're standing there, you're not going to not feel it. It's a moment, It really is. From the first time I did that, Roy Acuff brought me out, and I sang "There Goes My Everything" from Jack Green, and to the very last time I did it was, singing one of my hits. It doesn't get any better than that. There's really no next.
Yeah, you'll never forget it.
No,
Were you shaking in your boots the first time you stepped into the circle?
I wasn't the first time, because I grew up in Christian music, so I had to learn about, I knew that we listened to the Grand Ole Opry on an AM radio growing up, and I'm really telling you guys my age now, and I'm proud of it, mental. But I knew that old stand-up radio in the barn, that we would gather around with my papa, and we'd listen to, these great artists. And, the AM was, when I was getting older, it was kind of going away. We're moving into, the Opry still is great AM, but they are FM as well now. And, but we were moving on to things like Hee Haw. and all the, Roy Clark and Barbara Mandrell and Janie Fricke and, all of these great artists, Merle Haggard and Willie Nelson, we're on TV now, national level. And then, the Mandrell sisters get their own show. And then I got to be I was doing some acting back then. I got to be on a couple of the Barbara Mandrell shows, which I wish we could dig up because they're pretty hilarious. I think
we're going to have
Sailor
to.
In one, like, of all things.
Yeah, when I was looking you up, it said some things about you acting. Is that how you met Kristen, or how did that?
No, Kristen worked at Opryland.
Yeah?
Yeah, she was an Opryland performer. And I didn't actually meet her because my first year in was her first year out. She'd worked there for a few summers. And she'll tell this story today. She said she called her dad and said, "This is where I'm going to stay. I love this." Her dad said, "No, you're coming back to school. You're going to finish your degree, and then you're going to do what you want." So that's another thing that Kristen has a great organization called Broadway Boot Camp. And she launches a lot of careers through that. But the one thing you have to have finished before you can do that is your education, always. So I love that we stand for that in this country. So.
And you're both using your platforms to share your message, so that's beautiful.
Just to be smarter than us.
Yeah. We're all learning every day, doing our best. Whew. But we got a busy week coming up. It's CMA Fest. You've got 3 shows next week, I believe it is.
I think so.
You have one on the 4th, 5th, and the 7th. Looks like on June 4th, you've got the Nashville Navy Party. June 5th, Concert for Love and Acceptance. And then Friday, June 7th, the Dr. Pepper Amp Stage at 12:30, which we will be there. Did I cover it all?
I think so. These days I just get up and look at the calendar. And
they just tell you where you need to be, and you show up.
Absolutely. Usually, hopefully on time. But I think we were talking about this off camera ago. We just moved into a brand new house, so I know where nothing is. So, I couldn't even find shampoo this morning, so we're good to go.
You look great today.
Thank you. You're very nice.
Yeah.
You're very nice. But CMA Music Fest, our Concert for Love and Acceptance, our 9th year. We're at Margaritaville this year because the great Wild Horse has been purchased by Luke Combs, and they will have a new reveal coming up, and we'll most likely be back there next year. But Margaritaville really stepped up and gave us the entire building. We have the run of the place for, which is something I've always wanted to do. Music starting at 11 a.m. From all genres. So it's everybody's getting a 30-minute set up until our red carpet starts at 6. And then the amazing Jada Cato, who just got her first record deal, will be kicking off our red carpet performances. And then we've got an evening of everything from LGBTQ artists to affirming artists, until, I don't like labels. I've never liked them, besides record labels. And I'm not sure I like those, but I have to be on one. Anyhow, I've never been a guy, like I like to say, hey, you heard the big news? I'm vegetarian. That's how nonchalant it should be, because these kids that are on this show coming up have earned their right to perform their songs and their music. We've got some huge surprises. We just keep getting bigger and better, bigger and better. Even through COVID, we didn't stop. Mm-hmm. I learned how to be a television producer during COVID, and we've got, if you go back and look at 20 and 21, Kristen and I hosted one year, and then Cody Allen, the great Cody Allen, and I hosted one year, and the TV performances were so good that when we finally got to come back to the Wild Horse and our commercial breaks, we went to those live performances. And so we've just got such a catalog of beautiful people over the years, from Reba to Lauren Elena to Dierks Bentley. Just so many artists have shown their support of just what we like to say, wide open hearts. So that's what we stand for. We don't stand for labels. We stand for kindness. We stand for fairness, and we stand for music. Number one, that an artist can come to town and be authentic and be who they are through the greatness of their talent and their gift. And so that's how I roll with this. That's the only fist fights I'll get in about it.
Yeah, that's very cool.
And not really, just.
It's the biggest week of the year for music.
My mom always said, "Your education's your fist, son. Use that." So,
hey, Mama sounds like a smart lady.
Yeah, I think I don't know if we said this on the air, but she went to heaven with her Martin guitar.
Yeah,
man, at 99 years old, writing a country song. So that's a pretty cool way to go. But yes, Concert for Love and Acceptance, June the 5th, Margaritaville. Main show starting at 7 p.m. We've got one of the coolest things I think that's happened this year. There's a great organization called Moms with Hugs out there, and we've got all evening long. If these moms have been through the fire, and what they've come out on the other side is just love. So if you go into our building, you're gonna get a hug from the Moms with Hugs, and we love that. That's just such a cool, cool accomplishment. We're back our 9th year with GLAD as our sponsor, and this year for the first year, Black Opry is one of our sponsors, and then Nashville Pride. And then I like to say the rest of our sponsors are all the hearts that are showing up, because we get a packed house every year, and what they're telling us, we might have to go a little bit bigger next year. And I'm like, okay, 10 years, it's time to retire. Who wants it? Anybody?
Yeah.
Out there? So, woo.
Well, I'm sure Luke's new place will be huge.
Yes,
so
I'm sure it
maybe
will.
you guys could go back to the original.
Heart,
yeah.
An awesome fella, And I want to close with this because, our downtown Nashville has become, I think we're getting a pretty bad rap lately. There's the people come to town just to party and be, to be awful and stuff. I don't see that when I go downtown Nashville. I just see a lot of people coming to town that love country music. They want to celebrate that. Yeah, you're always going to have a little bad behavior. That's everywhere. Go to Vegas, for God's sake, But the essence of who we are in Nashville has changed, And the only reason I say it's changed, it was good before. There just wasn't the education of knowing how to take that and be better. And now we are. We are better. We are better. And that's something I'm so proud to say. And then we have a lot of people that help. If it's an area that's not better, there's not anybody, like the media can blow up things sometimes that make it sound terrible. But there's a lot of people to help other people here. That's called education and Moms with Hugs. And I think I often don't like the word acceptance, because sometimes it means, we're just going to accept you. We're going to put up with you. But that's not really what that word means. Acceptance is a great word of love. I'm going to love you and accept you and be with you where you are. And let's take that journey together. So isn't that really country music?
Yeah, it is. That's
Isn't that
what
what
country
we've kind
music
of always
is.
been about? Just, all right, let's get to reframing, y'all.
3 chords of the truth and a little bit of love.
3 chords of the truth. You stole my saying.
Yeah, there we go. So what is your favorite song to play live?
Well, I always love the hits. Man Holding On, What Mattered Most, Living in a Moment. I was lucky enough to have some pretty cool standards out there that have become that. And we just started doing them again. I had to kind of re-educate myself on social media, because today in the booking world, the people want to see those social numbers up. And what's taken mine, and we're adding it 200 or 300 a day? It's been those songs. It's been those classics. And people have been like, hey, where you been? I'm like, I ain't been anywhere. I just haven't been on social media, but now I am. But it's super fun. I have a team of people doing that. But every now and then a brand new song will rise to the top. And I heard the great singer-songwriter Jamie Floyd sing this song one night it was last year, actually, Concert for Love and Acceptance at the Wild Horse. And rarely do you, in a place like that, in a situation like that, do you hear the room just go completely quiet. And they're hanging on every word of that song, and they just came to their feet. And I went up to her afterwards and said, I don't know what your plan for that song is. I said, but if you ever decide not to record it, I'd like to. And, of course, if you get Luke Combs or, Miranda, or somebody wants to record that song, I'll just go sing backup on it. But I take a second seat to any great song. And the song is called How You Get to Heaven. and it was a complete story of my grandfather, and it floored me, and I got to record it this year. And I don't care where I am. I don't get to play a lot of honky tonks anymore, but there were a lot of performing arts centers, festivals. But the song demands your attention. And I think that was what mattered most, living in a moment. I didn't know I'd get my hands on one of those at this point. We're putting a lot of time into that message this next year with that single. And if you haven't, just check it out. It's called How You Get to Heaven. And no, it's not a Christian song. It's an international song about how it should be. Mm-hmm. And I'll just close with amen to that.
Amen. Yeah. Your latest project, you said, was the most personal that you've ever put out, the music you're making these days.
Yeah, and it wasn't scary at all, actually. It was, I've changed as a writer. I'm not a preachy writer. I just like to write the truth. There's a song that Jimmy Thau and I wrote, it starts out, I heard a preacher man talking about love and what you got to do to make it to that place up above. And, I just went there with the church I grew up in, and how much it's changed today from where they were years ago with simply shift in education and what we want to teach our kids. Mm-hmm. What do you want your kids to, what was right for you and what was wrong for you? And just living by example and paying attention and never giving up with some people that I probably thought I would always have to give up on, or they would give up on me. Mm-hmm. And they didn't, and we didn't with each other. And we, sometimes, it came to boxing gloves, of course. But if you're going to box with the truth, your truth, and see where you land. And so I learned some things. I know I learned some things from my Pentecostal preacher uncle, and he learned some things from me that he never thought about. Mm-hmm. And if you get to put all that into music and a great song comes out of it, then that's a win-win right there. And my uncle called me, who we've probably sparred the most, just the things people spar about, religion and spirituality and what we believe. And he said, man, I'm going to tell you, your aunt and I talked about this song. They both are preachers. And we talked about this song and said, okay, we don't care about today, this morning, or what your stand is with your beliefs. But here are some words that you can listen to and go, okay, I can put my heart into that. And I can put my truth into that. And I don't have to judge anybody for today, and just see the truth and the heart of the person. Isn't that great if we could just look at everybody that way? Wouldn't that be fantastic? And as for me and my house, that's what we do. But we certainly don't close the door to education and say, get off my front porch.
Mm-hmm.
Now my mom will tell you that when it comes to voting, probably. You take that stuff in the yard, y'all. Let's get off my front porch.
Well, that is so great. We can't wait to see you play this week or next week. We're going to come out and support. It's going to be a great time.
Thank you so much. This has been fun today.
Yeah, and we're y'all 106.7, so we play the best country from the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, play a lot of Ty Herndon, so I'm very excited to be here with you today.
We've talked about 4 great songs today. We'll just throw them in there.
So good. So good.
Can't wait to hear it.